Hello everyone, how you doing today? Hope you're having a happy, wonderful Sabbath. Yeah, it's been an interesting time, hasn't it, lately? Um, with the virus and everything else that's going on, there's a lot of things that are happening. And I want to talk to you about how quickly things can change. About a week and a half ago, had an interesting situation happen at work. And where we're located on the farm, I work for Remlinger Farms, we're right on the Tote River. And so, yeah, the river's there, calm, little small river. Gets pretty high in flood stage, gets right close to coming up to the farm, but we're high enough that it doesn't quite come into the farm. But here, last Tuesday, not last Tuesday, Tuesday before last, anyway, the 28th of July, it's about 11:20 in the morning, and I'm just walking out of my shop, and all of a sudden this alarm goes off. It's a very penetrating alarm, and it's a big alarm system on the Tote River, because it's a river that is fine except for the dam, which is 16 miles upstream from Carnation, and it's had issues with leakage and some various things that make people queasy, and the Corps of Engineers has always been a little worried about the dam, especially in an earthquake or monsoon weather, high water. So anyway, it's 11:20, and this alarm is going off. It's just piercing, just unbelievably piercing. And there's 4 of these alarms up and down the river, mostly up from Carnation. Well, definitely up from Carnation, about 4 miles up the river. People still live, and it's a narrow valley up through there. And so the Tote River Dam is a 200-foot high dam, and it bounds a lot of water. In fact, the city of Seattle, Redmond, Bellevue, Bothell, Woodinville, all those towns get their water from the Tote River watershed and behind the Tote Dam. So anyway, this alarm is going off, and it's like, well, it's not noon. That's when they normally do the alarm, and they just say, well, this is a test, and it's every day at noon, or every Wednesday at noon. The alarm goes off. Well, this is a Tuesday, and it's 11:20 or so in the morning, and it's just a piercing alarm. It's not their normal, well, this is a test alarm. And I stop, and I'm looking around, and another fellow that's working not too far away looks at me and he says, hey, it's not Wednesday, and it's not noon. There hasn't been an earthquake, and there's no monsoon rain. What's going on? Why would the dam be failing now? I said, don't know. Because they'd had an announcement saying the Tote River Dam has failed. Flee immediately. Not flee, but evacuate immediately. And then the alarm goes back on for about another minute or two, and then it comes on again. The dam has failed. Evacuate immediately. And we look at each other and go like, well, I guess we should be going. So I go back in my shop, and he takes off some other direction. And I look around in my shop, and I think, well, what do I take? I've got a project over there I've been working on for years, personal project, and it's too big, too cumbersome to try and get out of there. Don't know how much time we have, maybe 15, 20 minutes. I look around, I thought, well, I guess I better unplug the coffee pot. That's important. And walk on over towards the door to leave, and I thought, I better put a few tools away while I'm thinking, what do I take? What do I take? Well, I walk on over to the door, and I just shut the light off and just look back and say, well, it's been a good run. I mean, I've been here almost 30 years. It's been a good living, been a good job for me. And maybe there's an opening at, Walmart or something. But anyway, so I leave, and thought, well, there's higher ground on this farm. I'll just head up to the higher ground where another shop complex is and farm buildings. And so I head up there. All of a sudden, these 2 guys in their electrical trucks come roaring up behind me. And we've had some electricians out there working on electrical things for a while, and he said, "What's going on? What's going on?" I said, "Well, it sounds like the Tote River Dam has failed." And I think we're on high enough ground here. I think we are. I said, "I'm not sure." And they said, "Well, we got to get out of here." And I said, "Well, you don't want to go back out to the main highway, the main way in and out of the farm, because that's just going to be jammed up." I said, "There's a gate up here. I've got the key for it, but they've changed a lot of the keys on a lot of the locks on a lot of the gates and so forth." So I go up there, and of course I don't have the key for it. And he said, "Well, we'll get out." And so he gets out his little powered bandsaw and cuts the chain, and bingo, they're out of there. They got the gate open and they're gone. So I thought, well, do I just stick around and see what happens, or do I just go home? It's 15 minutes home. So I said, well, I'm going to go home. So I got ahead and go home, and then thinking all the way, well, boy, oh boy, that's going to be devastating, because I've heard various, reports that maybe up to 30 feet of water will hit the farm, will just devastate everything there. And so I'm listening to the radio, don't hear anything on the radio. That's really strange. There's nothing on the radio about this. And this alarm is just blaring in the valley. So I get home after about 15 minutes, get out of my truck, and I can hear the alarm at my house. And I'm about 6 miles from the farm, roughly, by the crow flies. And so my daughter works from home here, so I said, hey, the dam has failed on the Tote River, but I can't believe it. And so she started looking at some King County websites. I don't know where she went, but anyway, it finally came up that it was a false alarm. It was a false alarm. So I turned around, headed back down, going, whew, boy, oh boy, oh boy, yeah. Would have been horrendous for all of Carnation. And people up and down the valley, Snoqualmie River Valley, for a ways at least. So I go back, and I go over to the hardware store in town, and I know the fellow pretty well that owns it. And I said, Ron, what did you do when the alarm went off? He said, same as me. He said, he's just dumbfounded. I said, middle of summer, and there's no earthquake. And so he said he finally locked up the hardware store and headed off over to City Hall to see what was going on. Well, he got there, and City Hall is locked up, and they're all gone. And he said, typical politicians. When things are happening, bad things are happening or about to happen, first ones to flee. So anyway, it got me thinking, how quickly in our lives things could change. I mean, you just never know. I mean, the big earthquake could come, a devastating fire, maybe in your own home, or, possible forest and brush fires in various areas, automobile accidents. You just never know, or even health issues. And so it got me thinking about, well, boy, next time, Bob, I could have at least grabbed my toolbox. I got a lot of tools in my toolbox, and I could have wrestled that out to my truck and at least taken my tools. Worth some money. And so anyway, it got me thinking, what should we be doing right now in case we have to flee at a moment's notice? Or maybe you've got a little bit of time. What do you take? What do you take? What do you leave behind? Now, I was talking to another fellow that lives way up the river. He's right at the end of the highway up the river, about 4.5 miles. He'd be the first one hit. I said to him, Jim, what did you do? And he said he loaded up his little critters, his cat and dog, and put them in his truck and headed off. And he said, didn't say anything about picking up anything else. But so I got to thinking, what would we do? What should we do? And what should we take and what should we leave behind? And because we just don't know. And so I just made a little list here. Maybe a few personal items. I don't even know what I mean by that, but I don't know. Maybe financial records, some financial records. Maybe your checkbook. Definitely your wallet and purse if you've got time. And the Bible. That, to me, is very significant. I mean, you can always get another Bible, but all my notes in the Bible, quote-unquote inspired margins and so forth, I'd hate to lose that, especially at this age, to start over with another brand new Bible. But Could be done. Could be done. But in Matthew 24, Jesus Christ makes a very interesting statement here. To the people in the future in Jerusalem, just during the tribulation or just before the tribulation. But I think it's during the tribulation. What does he say in Matthew 24:15 here? Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not go down to take anything out of his house. Get out of town quick, he's saying. Don't dilly-dally around. And let him who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. Go quick. Go quick. But woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing babes in those days. And pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath. So an interesting statement from Jesus Christ in Matthew 24 about the tribulation and people fleeing quickly. Don't even go back in the house. Now, we're not at that point. And so we know in the future, though, that there's a place of safety, and my place of safety might very well be in the ground. I don't know. But if Jesus Christ and God says it's time to go to the place of safety, and how that would be communicated to us, I have no idea. But when that happens, how many of us would stand around and say, well, I'm not ready. I still got to do this. Or, hey, I've still got family here that depends on me, and I can't leave them. How many of us would do that? There'll be some. And I can't even exclude myself from that. I'm not sure. You never know how you're going to react in a lot of situations until it actually happens. So, fleeing, it's something to think about. And as we look at that, the one thing we do want to take with us when we do flee and not leave behind is our knowledge of God's plan and His promises. As we know, God carries out His promises. At times it looks like, why are things going so slow? But as Mr. Carl Anderson always says, God is right on time with His timetable. The train is not late. He knows what He's doing. So I would say, what do we do now? And, covered this already a little bit, but, maybe make a plan of what you can take if you have time. I've kind of made a mental plan, and, they always talk about maybe have a bug-out bag, these survivalists and so forth. And the only thing is, if it's your financial stuff and so forth, you're always digging into it and having to use it. That's, how do you get it back? Quote-unquote, a briefcase or something. I don't know how practical some of that is, but anyway, we just know that great trouble is ahead. A lot of difficult things are going to be happening. And one of them may be that we have to flee even just our local area. And as my daughter, who studied a lot of Roman history, said, she said, people in Rome, during the great struggles at the end of Rome, the Roman Empire, were fleeing Rome. They were getting out of town, just like we're reading about now. Some people fleeing, like Seattle in this sense, moving out of Seattle because of all the chaos and everything that's going on. And that was happening also in Rome before they finally fell. So I don't want to ramble on here too long, but let's go over to 2 Peter. And he has an interesting statement here that pertains to this. 2 Peter 3:11. It's talking about the day of the Lord, but it's also talking about the time of God coming here with His throne. But it's also talking about the many issues that are coming. And so anyway, 2 Peter 3:11. Therefore, since all these things will be dissolved or destroyed, as we know with the great tribulation and the four horsemen and the fifth seal and all those things, there's great trouble ahead. And all of our physical things will be gone. What manner of person ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness? Looking for and hastening to the coming day of the Lord, because of which the heaven will be dissolved, being on fire, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new heaven and a new earth in which righteousness dwells. And boy, do we look forward to that, brethren, seeing all the chaos that's going on now and how much worse it's going to get. So, in paraphrasing just briefly what the Nelson Bible Study said, instead of working for things that would be destroyed, God says through Peter, we should be working for things that are eternal, our relationship with God and Jesus Christ. So true, isn't it? That's what we really should be working for, but it's hard not to be working for all these physical things, because we are physical and we need physical things. But we really need to focus in on our relationship with God and Jesus Christ. In conclusion, I just want to say, things can change very, very quickly. Know that whatever happens, God exists, and his promises will be carried out. God does not forget what he's doing. God does not get distracted like we do. God does not say, I think I'm going to go play golf today. Those guys can take care of themselves. No. He is focused on us and what is happening in the church and in the work. And he knows exactly what's happening with every person in the world. And that's just amazing. But his focus is on us, brethren. So, brethren, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sabbath. Take care, be healthy, and love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.